When a game throws this many bosses at you, it's no surprise that a few end up stealing the spotlight. Louder, flashier, and impossible to ignore. But every time I replay Elden Ring, I find myself thinking about the other ones. The bosses that don't get talked about. The ones tucked away in forgotten corners. Or dismissed too quickly.
You suck!
So today, I want to shine a light on some of Elden Ring's most underrated bosses. The ones that quietly offer some of the more satisfying moments in the game. In no particular order, first we have Loretta. Now being honest, the horse boss fatigue by the time you reach this boss is real. Facing Tree Sentinel, Knight's Cav, Draconic Tree Sentinel, and most probably the weaker ghost version of this boss, it's no secret why players were probably not very excited when they came face to face with this one. There was no real excitement in seeing another mounted boss, but I must admit, this is one of the good ones. She has some annoying magic projectiles, but unlike these plebs, she doesn't waste half the fight running around you in circles. The attacks have a nice flow to them, with proper telegraphs, and there's a weird satisfaction I feel after dodging her slashes, and her mega cannon. What probably didn't help her case much was also that she's in the same area as Millennia, and since that boss is a topic of many talks, Loretta lost her charm and was looked at being nothing more than just a casual hurdle in order to get to the real prize of coming here. In doing so, I feel like we didn't give the honor Loretta deserves for how good this boss actually is. Personally, my favorite mounted boss from the base game. Next up, Elmer of the Briar. If there's anyone this guy needs to take to the court, then that would be the bell-bearing hunter in Caelid. This guy probably contributed at least half the people who fought the castle version of this boss to instantly say, "Ugh, not this guy again." Putting aside all 4 copies of this guy spread throughout the world before you might come across this version, I really love this boss. This moveset is so enjoyable, and one thing I absolutely appreciate so much on this guy is how he treats you with full disrespect if you think you can outsmart this boss by putting some space between him and yourself. He has the perfect "where do you think you are going" moves when he sends his sword after your ass. This alone makes you want to figure out the better opportunities before you take your next sip. And while some might say he doesn't have enough health and gets blasted, well, you can enjoy the Caelid version first thing when you start the game. I personally like the castle version the most, as the build up to get to him through the castle, then entering the boss room as he's just staring at a painting of Millennia, just raises so many questions in the player's mind, where they are not just interested in how to fight this guy, but also, what was he doing? Who is he? Why is he here? Why the painting? Some would argue the arena is not the best, but I personally am fine with not fighting every boss in a barren flat land. So for me, Elmer of the Briar is a boss that I feel like definitely deserves some more love. Moving on, I would like to briefly talk about Radagon. This is not even players' fault. Like, seriously, FromSoft. Why did this guy have to be a part of a fight along with Elden Beast? The rage that Elden Beast induced in players led to probably most of the community forgetting Radagon even exists. The first time I fought the final boss, my goal was to reach Elden Beast with all my flasks available, and I was so focused on just the second phase that I completely ignored the beauty that was unfolding in front of my eyes. As time went on, however, I have started to absolutely adore Radagon as a boss, and I wish he wasn't part of Elden Beast fight, as I am still not a fan of that. The music when the fight starts, triple mini phase changes, awesome moveset, and bearable fancy visuals, this dude is a total package just let down by a literal blob. Alright, now this next boss I feel like might not sit right with everyone, but I feel like Mr. Boar Rider definitely deserves some more love. Look, I get that the charge attack is painful, but I just can't write off the rest of the fight, which offers amazing combos, and how, despite being a mounted boss, he wants to be in your face for most of the attacks. The only issue I think I even ever have with mounted bosses is having to chase them around like you're not fighting a boss, but trying to catch a chicken. Gaius, though, loves being in your face. Maybe a little too much for some of the players' liking, but I really enjoy this fight. And if you find Loretta and Tree Sentinel too easy and want to step it up, then Gaius coming in with the DLC is the perfect place to look for. Definitely a boss that pissed me off at first, but over time has risen the ranks of my favorites. Bonus points for all the amazing lore that surrounds him. Next up, the Mimic tier. A boss that mimics your character and shows you how high your build you have been doubting all this time could actually take you. Come on, we have to give some much deserved appreciation for this one. I know defying some of the rules that bound the players maybe make this boss feel unfair, but I say everything is fair when you can put this guy as a mandatory boss. I would be lying if I didn't say that I actually formed my early game combos around how my copy was using them to shit on me. I had completely forgotten that jump attacks exist, how maybe all you need to do is press L2, how throwables are not just to fill your inventory. This boss is literally you, and I think you are underrated, so give yourself some more credit and the praise that you deserve. But seriously, I really like the concept of the boss that copies you and in some sense tests to see if you have been becoming a better version of yourself. If you know your build inside out, then you should be able to know its weaknesses and exploit them here, while ensuring you cover them in the rest of your fights, ultimately familiarizing you with what your character is. The endless possibilities make the encounter just that much fun, as you have to just equip whatever you find and see how the boss will react with it. Now, this dude gets a lot of love from the Tarnished, but if you steer a little to the right, you will see a lake, where you come face to face with someone who definitely knows how to make an entrance. The Flying Dragon Agil. I am a sucker for dragons, and witnessing this was enough to fill me up with just as much fear as joy. At the face of it, he's just a simple dragon, and as would be the case with any boss like this, he does not shy away from bringing the battle to a standstill sometimes. But if you ignore the minor inconveniences and just think of you on your horse, chasing down and cutting a dragon with your sword, the feeling is just unmatched. Yeah, it might not have lasted long due to the sheer number of dragons present in the game, not to mention the whole family that sits in an area where you can totally wander off to by accident. Still, the feeling that this fight brought is just so pure that I refuse to ever change my stance on the fact that this boss was an amazing encounter. And while this might be one of those that with time loses its value, nothing will take anything away from the first experience, which was a real thing of beauty. Blackblade Kindred in Forbidden Lands. Now, specifically, I am talking about the Forbidden Lands version, as I do feel like the terrain and the staircase along with the platforms can make the Caelid fight a bit annoying. I find the terrain in Forbidden Lands to be much more suited for this fight. And I must say, this boss is actually really fun. Does he hit hard? Absolutely. But don't let that deter you from taking on this guy, as I feel like the attacks on this guy come out really nicely. This was probably one of the first bosses where I started to learn how important it is to understand the spacing between you and the boss. A handy trick that can pay dividends on a lot of bosses and up your DPS along with higher chances of stance breaks. He does like to jump away, but being an aggressive boss doesn't really require much chasing, as he always wants to shove his sword down your throat. With a nice variety of attacks available in his satchel, he definitely provides a decent challenge, and the heavy hits you take keep you on the edge, making the fight engaging. And did you know you can summon Millicent to help you with this fight? Let me know down in the comments. Finally, I want to talk about a boss that I wish was how Godskin Duo was done. The Spirit Caller Snail fight in Mountaintop's Cave. In this fight, you start against Godskin Apostle, and while that in itself wasn't all that exciting, it throws a live curveball at you. Literally, making this one of the instances where the feeling of relief turns into a moment of horror. If you manage to beat this guy as well, you just mentally start preparing, as you just assume that the game is not done with you yet. However, instead, it throws this cutesy little head waver at you, making you question your existence and left wondering, is this really all? Are you sure, game? Miyazaki is standing behind me, isn't he? Individually, these bosses are already pretty fun, and when thrown in this order, it definitely plays some games with your head, and I love that. Don't let them know your next move, Elden Ring version. I feel like the fact that you have faced these enemies before overall doesn't excite all the players, as they feel like it's a cheap attempt at taking what you have already fought and just put together in a pot in hopes of making a nice recipe. But hey, taste is subjective, and I really enjoyed this one. And that's all for the bosses that I feel like are maybe a bit underappreciated by the Tarnished, or I just don't hear enough about them. Not taking anything away from the absolute best of the best that this game offers, but I feel like your average Joes also deserve some spotlight. So that was my list. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with any of these. Let me know what are some of your favorite bosses or experiences that maybe get overshadowed. That's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, right?